Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Credit for it. All I really want you to do right now is a couple of key pieces of information about this Industrial Revolution, and then we'll be done with it. I promise I won't take that long. There are a couple of slides in here that we'll skip because really there will be another chance to get at that information as we do this. So let me log on to here. Oh my God. All right. Good morning or good afternoon. There's Amari's here, Kristen's here, Felix, Vitamin is here, Ivy is here, Jordan is here, Carlos, and Willis. All right, so what I'm going to do here for you guys online here is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys so you can see what I'm looking at. Share that. Then go to here and to where'd it go? Sorry about this. I don't know what happened to it. All right, so give that a chance to pull up here. Come on. Okay, so let me turn off a couple of these lights here and we'll get started. All right, so we've already kind of discussed, I've already gone over the reasons why industrialization starts in Great Britain. There's a couple of things that, like I said, that will be review for you, but coal resources, the abundance new material is a game changer for Great Britain. It's fuel source. It's going to enable them to start industrializing, or a lot of the other European nations are going to do. Geography has a lot to play with it as well. You have lots of natural, you've got rivers. Those rivers are going to be converted, and they're going to tie them all together with a system of canals and whatnot. Politically, there's a political acceptance for individual thought and non-government ownership or private industry. A lot of other countries during this time period are kind of, they want the government or the church to control the industry. And it boils down to really, England embracing, or Britain embracing, the ideas of enlightenment. So that's really, it's so, that's where it starts, obviously. So you see still, that's obviously that's a 20th century map picture. They still have lots of coal and lots of oil reserves. So the social aspects. So if you're going to write down, start writing down some information, this might be one of them. Don't write down all of them, obviously. Shift from agricultural to industry would be a good one. Moving away from farming is kind of the same thing. Moving, that shift from agricultural to industry, and also I would guess that the new advent of tools and farm materials would allow for more land worked by fewer people. This goes in line with what we talked about with the Enclosure Acts. The Enclosure Acts are a consolidation of public land. Those lands had been previously worked by farmers and families that had been there for generations. All of a sudden, improvements in farming materials, and now 2 or 3 people can take care of a vast tract of farmland. So socially, we're seeing that people are starting to become a little bit wealthier here during this time period. Just write down the first one, the shift to industry, and there's more that you'll put down as well. Just kind of think of it on the lines of what we talked about earlier. Yesterday, the day before with the lecture. That this business opportunity, these new businesses, new factories that are opening up, they provide money. It's now a way. I can now go to work and earn a wage, and I don't have to rely on crops or water or animals or whatnot. I go in, I work, I do my time, and I leave. Now, this is a social change as well, because what's going to happen is with yesterday's documents and a little bit today's stuff, you're going to see that yesterday we taught that commission that was set up, that committee that was set up, that went around and talked to people of the Industrial Revolution and said, yeah, well, how old were you when you started working? How long did you work for? And the one guy yesterday said he'd worked for 16 hours, 30-minute lunch break, and if you start to fall asleep, they flog you, they whip you to make you stay awake. So people are going to start to get upset about the treatment of workers. Success for Great Britain is going to come at a cost, especially for some factories. So, obviously you have these great industrial cities kind of like pop up out of the mill. Good for work. They provide an outlet for the people that, that weren't able to continue farming. Remember, the Enclosure Acts said that you were to be relocated. So if you wanted to kind of hold on to the farming deal and keep farming, that was fine. Just, well, here's a piece of, and if it works, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So a lot of families get terrible land access, and they're almost forced to go to the big cities. So you have these large cities like this that come into existence. One of the cool things about studying the past and studying places and documents like this is you get kind of an insight on what's going on here with the adults and with the children as well. So here is a poem. We don't know the author. We only know that it was written about in 1893, towards the latter part of the 19th century, towards type of the turn of social movements in the Industrial Revolution. And the poem reads, I have a little boy at home, a pretty little son. I think sometimes the world is mine, in him my only one. Before dawn my labor drives me forth, 'tis night when I am free. A stranger am I to my child, and he is one to me. I mean, that really kind of, that's really kind of tells a lot of how much people are working during this time period. This guy, obviously, he's written a poem. He never sees his son. He never sees his kids. It could be that both parents are working. Juvenile delinquency during the latter part of this 19th century starts to climb. Juvenile delinquency being like kids committing crimes and whatnot, because they're not being monitored by anybody. get to work. Slapping you guys with it. Yeah, I wouldn't have a job for very long if they found out I was beating you kids. So that's kind of, to be aware that as more kids work and more factories open, people become very, very discontent with the way things are going, especially with the kids. You can't mess with the kids. So worker discontent comes. You're going to have the rise of unions. Profits are being made. The factory owners are making hand over foot. So unions start. I would definitely write this down in this area for social. Just write down, if you haven't already, just put unions start. Unions. Now, a union is an organization that helps out the workers. I'm a member of the teacher union. So they kind of look out and make sure that the rules are being followed when it comes to the workplace. There is no labor laws here for these kids. There is really no labor laws for even the adults that are working 16-hour days with 30 minutes for lunch. So the workers want representation. And the unions are going to provide that for them. So the first kind of really idea of unions you'll see next year in United States history. This picture is going to be a popular one. This is like the farm workers of America standing up, their fists raised in the air, forming one big fist, because the idea is singular, and being a singular, we can't do anything, but together we're united. Thanks, Ivan. I was searching for that word. Together we're stronger, being united. Whether it's just one person, or it's better off, obviously, to have a gang of people that are on this. So if you wrote down, I understand that. That's good. This was like for the lesson that I made for the assistant principal that never showed up today. All right, so the next one, political. So the political aspect here is, look, don't necessarily write them all down. I know it seems like a lot of stuff here. Just kind of remember this. There is going to be a need for new markets, and there's going to be a need for new laborers. Where are we going to get these workers from? Where are we going to get these laborers from? Where's these new markets going to come up? Well, we're talking about Great Britain using the money of the Industrial Revolution to build more ships, go out and literally conquer different lands. When we start getting into the nation of Africa, it will become more clear. When the British start going over to China and getting the Chinese addicted to opium, so they're resistant to trying to do. So obviously there is a little bit of a decline of the elite class, because remember, these lands that were consolidated because of the Enclosure Acts, they were once owned by the rich and the kings. So there is kind of a decline of the very, 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 very super rich, and the landed elite that we call them. Because the next one kind of deals with a little bit of the political power that will be involved with that. England is becoming a world power at the expense of others. Think about what they're building, what they're building on. Child labor, crazy working conditions in the factories for adults even. We're going to be talking about slave labor here in a minute. So there is idea that that England is becoming a world power. To write this, England is becoming a world power at the expense of others. Obviously, we know about the raw materials. We need to know with this industrialization. The rise of the workers, that's going to be something that will continue as well. But for now, know that politics and political power lies in industrialization. As Britain starts to industrialize more and more, and they've got more money and they're building more ships, Britain is an island nation. They don't have much. So as the factories start to grow, they're materials. And they're going to go out and they're going to literally steal and cheat and rape and pillage as much as they possibly can to get said raw materials. It's not a very good time to be non-English, I guess, or non-British, because they are literally dominating the world during this time period. The Enclosure Acts, we kind of already went through those, and that was just kind of like got the people off the land. Wouldn't worry about that. The reform movements start as well. You kind of already got that as well with the formation of labor unions. But basically, when people start to speak up, when poems like The Working Conditions and stories like The Working Conditions come out in these reports and these books, everybody suddenly is aware, and social change is kind of like dictated or demanded. Karl Marx is going to be one of these key guys that we'll talk about, and he writes this idea of workers have rights. They should rise up and kill the capitalists, take control of your own factory, so on and so forth. Don't worry about Karl Marx just yet. We will get to him at a later time. So this reform movement kind of goes back to the unions, and then when we talk about Karl Marx, there'll be another reform movement as well. So don't worry about the Communist Manifesto and all that deal. We will get to that at a different time. Don't worry about nationalism. The next thing I kind of want you to have in there for, we're still on political, right, is imperialism and the need for new markets. So what you see there is you see a picture of some ships. As like I said, as Britain grows stronger, they build more ships. They are off to basically conquer the world. Put this in perspective of the American Revolution. They are kind of at their height of their power during the middle part of the 18th century. So right about this time where we are involved with the struggle of Great Britain for our freedoms here in America, they're going through this industrial age. That's why they're all over the place trying to get different marks on different materials. So the thing with imperialism is that it's this idea that we are going to use our military, we're going to use our industrial might to take over. They have the money to build the ships. It's that simple. It's that easy. They have the money to go in and colonize different countries. Barbados, Jamaica, some of the islands down there in the Caribbean that are still have some sort of British history and background. These are where we're getting raw materials. They're going to go everywhere. They're going to be in India. They're going to be in Malta. The British are going to be in Africa at some point. All over in the Middle East, taking out the tea and the sugar for their own personal use because they've been industrialized. So it's really kind of unfortunate for the other communities around Europe and the other lesser type of communities that haven't industrialized that, because it's really an unfair advantage for them to have to fight and deal with the British. The next really people that are going to challenge the British will be the French at some point in time. So let me see. So here's a good picture of what the imperialization might look like. The guy in the middle, that is, how we have Uncle Sam that says, Uncle Sam, you can look at a picture of this guy with the beard and the hat and the stripy pants and the striped shirt. No, they're talking about America. Uncle Sam. Well, Britain has the same thing like Uncle Sam, but he's called John Bull. Here is John Bull right here in the middle, like B-U-L-L. John Bull. So here is John Bull, kind of looking like an octopus. He's got his hands in India, Canada, Jamaica, Ireland, Egypt, Malta. I can't read that one. But they're all over the place because they can afford to be. Because they have the ships, they have the manpower, they have the ability to do this, whereas other countries that haven't industrialized yet, they're kind of left behind. That's why Britain is one of these literally the world's first legitimate superpower because of industrialization. What the hell happened? Okay, the goal obviously is to build bases, to extend your reach. There is a saying here, this is the British Empire at its height. They're in pretty much every continent there on the globe. There is a kind of a funny little saying that goes, the sun never sets on the British Empire. New products, new goods, sugar cane, tea, opium, indigo, silk, gunpowder, whatever it is, the British are going to get it. And it doesn't really matter who's there, who stands in the way, because they're badass. There are some, obviously, as we continue to industrialize, as Britain continues to expand, there is a need for labor. Now remember that the labor unions have started raising a stink during this time period as we go on the timeline. So some labor unions are like, whoa, nope, no kids anymore, and adults have to have this standard work week or whatnot. So the company's like, damn, we had it good for a while. How are we going to get around this? So the next real way for these industrialization to continue in Jamaica, Barbados, and wherever is that we're using slave labor. So that Columbia Exchange that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that was just foods and vegetables and animals and whatnot. Now we're starting to talk about trading human beings because we need the labor. There are no labor costs involved in taking slaves. I want you to know that slavery is not something that was created by the white guy. There had been inter-African tribal slave trading back and forth for hundreds of years. There is going to be a book we study here, we'll talk about in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. It's called The White Man's Burden. As a white man, it's my job to teach the Africans, the Asians, the people that aren't white, how to be white. Do you think that the Africans want to learn how to be white? No, of course not. Think the people in Jamaica want to learn how to be a British citizen? No, of course not. They want to be British. I mean, they want to be Jamaican. They want to be Barbadians. They want to be Puerto Ricans or whatever. So this unfortunate, really kind of slave trade really is piggybacked on the fact that they need labor, and they're getting it from Africa. So the last one here, economics. The one thing that I want you to put down here, any of those, is the expansion of world trade. We know about factories. We know about the mass production of goods. But I want you to understand that as you go through this, and as other nations start to imperialize, France, Germany, and so on, the markets start to expand, and people start to reach out and search of new markets. The main thing going forward is this expansion of world trade is going to lead to the colonization of Africa. That's coming up very, very quickly, 1880, 1890, where you're literally going to have every European Union country going to Africa and literally screwing things up for all of them. And it's all really kind of in the name of the economics of the British Industrial Revolution, which is unfortunate. I mean, you can't call it completely British now because other nations are industrializing, but Britain was really the first. And Britain kind of is screwing things up as well. So you have these big factory cities. You've got, all the resources you need. You've got your railway. You've got your sea coal. What you don't have is labor. And that's where Africa comes in. We're going to get rid of the mill town. The one lady, or the cottage industry, one lady sitting at a desk or a looming thing doing weaving, that's over with. We're now using factories, large scale, production lines and whatnot. You'll see this again as well at some point when we start talking about the advent of steam power. I believe it's the exact same picture. Look, what I want you to kind of understand is how this whole thing works out. So if you see these shafts that are going, they're like running along, the ceiling. Those shafts are being turned by the gearing of the steam engine. The steam engine is turning this shaft, which is then turning this little barrel thing, which in turn turns these belts. These belts are turned kind of like on a, if you ever looked in like it's like a pulley system for a car. Have you ever looked inside your car and the thing's spinning, the fan belts and stuff? So the belts run the machinery down here. You can see a gear that, is producing this cotton or this linen or whatever they're producing. So we're no longer sitting in a house doing this. We're sitting in a factory doing this. Money, 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 money. And all this, look, all this material, we need somebody to sell it to. So that's when we start going into other countries as well, selling them junk. All right, so the economics of slavery, obviously there is no labor cost. Africa is going to provide the workers. This type of thing. There's really, don't worry about writing this stuff down. Here is, because we'll get into this, here's a good picture of, I guess, a primary source, if you will. Notice that all these people here are in bondage of some sort, in chains. The guy with the whip that looks like he's in control of everything, he's the same color as the rest of them. So that's kind of your clue that it wasn't always the white man that came in and was taking slaves. Look, they even got little children, tied up as well. So this is, here's another. She's tied up as well. They're tied together. So yeah, although this is a rather benign picture of slaves being captured, you see one striking thing that kind of strikes out to you is like, damn, that guy's the same color as the rest of them. Almost finished. Here would be a slave market, if you will, selling the slaves. Typically, the slaves that were shipped over from Africa to the United States or the Caribbean had a lifespan of about 2.5 to 3 years before they were brought ashore. After their month-long journey across the Atlantic, they're coated in oil and rubbed down with gunpowder to make them look more healthy in the market, to hide the chains and the marks and the beating marks or whatnot. So, yeah, very, very cruel and inhumane time period we're talking about here. We'll talk about the wealth of nations. We'll talk about, don't worry about writing this down. We'll talk about Adam Smith and Karl Marx individually. But the one thing that I wanted to kind of point out to you that's funny is that everybody loves Adam Smith for some reason. He advocates for minimal government. Shit, minimal government, give me a break, guy. The British government has been going out and like literally using government to take over different lands, hostily, obviously, with some of the areas that they're doing, especially in the Caribbean and in China and India and whatnot. So, funny that the guy thinks that minimal government is the answer, but yet again, the strong government has gotten Britain where it is today. Had this been a normal class period and had Mr. Brown come to my class today, I would have gotten you together in a group, had you compare some answers, but he's not here, so you're done for the day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing along. I'm still kind of upset that he didn't show up, but whatever, it is what it is. Not even the common courtesy of a phone call. Good point. What? I don't understand what's going on. I can't see the chat when I'm doing it, so let me see. Good afternoon, yo. Ivy, you look stressed. No, just a little tired. Face to face. I'm going to face to face. I'm only virtual. So I'm saying, no, it's just graduate my health is realistic. Here, my nothing. I want to be able to say the N word. Why would you want? No, that's what? No, it's not right. It's the one word black kids at school always say. Oh my God. Besides, I don't. Yes, White Man's Burden was written by Kipling. Look at the big brain on Jordan. Check out the big brain on Jordan. Have you read it? Jordan? Did you Google it to be like, oh, look, I'm smart. I know who wrote it. I'm just kidding. I had to read it for college. It's the book is like you like read something like, what the hell is this guy writing about? Yeah, the whole idea that we need to show the blacks and the Spanish and everybody else how to be white, how to be like us. Like, see, they don't want to be like us, man. That wasn't a COVID cough. Shut the fuck up. What? I don't know. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the Jungle Book. Oh, the guy learning how to to live with the apes and stuff, like the Disney cartoon, The Jungle Book. Okay, I never made that connection. I guess that's kind of cool. I don't know, Ivan, why I don't have more teachers because I don't know. Anyways, let me see. I'm gonna give everybody full credit for this assignment. Like, I'll legitimately enter all the grades right now. Even if you were absent, I'll give you full credit for it. Just because, hey, you know what? Whatever. So let me go through this, do this real quick, so I can get this stuff entered so I don't forget. There's a lot of people absent today, by the way, but I'll still give them credit for it. Let me see here. Grade book, 7th period. Let's enter quick scoring. Da 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 da. Can't get him. He hasn't been here. Not 410. All right. Let me see. That's about that. Let me, not the grade book, period attendance. I don't even know. Ivan's here. He was not. Corona was not. Gene. Was Gene here today? Gene, you here? I think so. He's probably at home. Let me see. Helen is here. We'll just make it up as we go. Lee was here. Anthony was here. Perez. Lewis. I think he was here.
Mo. I can actually hear myself. There we go. Yeah.
I'm just lucky to have a job in.
You are now muted. You are now unmuted. You are now muted.